Hi, our names are Sonia,
Cameron,
Brian,
and Tanya.
we are going to be discussing the human impact on the ocean, specifically in regards to the keystone species and how they provide a foundation in maintaining the ocean ecosystems.
The entire ocean revolves around one giant food chain. The food chain is broken down into a pyramid. The base of the pyramid are the producers, decomposers, and nutrients. The second level contains the primary producers. The third level, secondary consumers, and top level consists of the tertiary consumers.
We will discuss one keystone species from each of these levels. From the first level, we will discuss phytoplankton, from the second level, sea turtles, and from the third level, sea otters, and the top level, tiger sharks.
a keystone species is a species that plays a critical role in maintaining the structure of an ecosystem and that many other species depend on for continued survival and support.
Phytoplankton are part of the first level of species in the food chain. They are an autotrophic species, meaning that they can feed themselves through the process of photosynthesis. They are one of the most important primary producers in the world. Without the phytoplankton, the preceding levels throughout the food chain would be affected tremendously. According to Paul Alois and Victoria Chang, researchers for the world's biggest problems, the phytoplankton populations in the northern oceans have declined by as much as 30% since 1980. There is no doubt that human impact has played a huge role in this effect. Alois and Chang have suggested a few theories that could potentially be why the phytoplankton are depleting. The first reason is global warming. As the water gets warmer, less water rises to the top of the oceans, therefore causing fewer nutrients to reach the phytoplankton. According to NASA, phytoplankton decreases in warmer ocean climates and they increase in cooler ocean climates. If there are fewer phytoplankton in the ocean, there will be copious amounts of carbon in the ocean, therefore leading to an increased process of global warming. Another reason is that phytoplankton aren't receiving the amount of iron they need to replenish themselves. According to John Martin, a NASA scientist who is head of the marine laboratories, he discovered a direct correlation between the level of iron and the reproduction of phytoplankton. What he found out was that at a higher level of iron in the ocean, there were more phytoplankton being produced. With a lower level of iron, or no iron at all, the levels of reproduction stayed stagnant. Phytoplankton have a tremendous impact on keystone species. Without phytoplankton, the primary consumers, like sea turtles, would not have the essential nutrients to sustain life.
Sea turtles are one of the most important keystone species alive and yet the most endangered. They are keystone species because they maintain productive coral reef ecosystems to transporting essential nutrients from the oceans to beaches to coastal dunes. The beaches and dunes don't get enough nutrients throughout the year already, and little to no nutrients cause vegetation to grow on beaches. Sea turtles have been thriving the world's ocean for more than 150 million years, and because of the changes brought about by humans, they are now on the brink of extinction. Overfishing and pollution are some negative impacts on sea turtles. Sea turtles are a part of two viral ecosystems, beaches and marine systems. If they go extinct, both ecosystems will weaken. The sand on beaches cannot hold the nutrients to keep it healthy for other marine animals to thrive. Sea turtles use beaches and lower dunes to nest and lay their eggs. They lay around 100 eggs between 3 to 7 times a year, and because not all of the eggs hatch and not all eggs make it to sea, all of the unhatched eggs, trapped hatchlings, and leftover shells make a good source of nutrients for the dune vegetation. The dune plants and beaches use the nutrients to grow strong enough so that the root system can hold the sand in the dunes and protect the beach from erosion. But as the turtles' population declines, fewer eggs are laid in the beaches, providing less and less nutrients. Without these animals, the dunes' vegetation would lose a major source of nutrients and would eventually not be strong enough to maintain the dunes, allowing our beaches to erode and wash away. Our beautiful beaches would cease to exist. Sea turtles are also classified as a keystone species in the marine ecosystem. They maintain the population of sponges and jellyfish. Sea turtles are one of the only marine animals that can eat jellyfish. They prevent large blooms of jelly. These jellies wreak havoc on fisheries. Also, a large amount of jellyfish disturb recreation and other maritime activities throughout the oceans. In many coastal communities, especially in Central America and Asia, sea turtles are considered a food source. During nesting season, hunters go to the beaches at night looking for nesting females. They wait until the female has deposited her eggs to kill her. then they take both eggs and meat. Our oceans are unhealthy and under significant threat from overfishing, pollution, and climate change. It is time for us to protect sea turtles and rebuild their populations to healthy levels as a vital step in ensuring healthy oceans for the future.
Sea otters are the secondary consumers in the food chain. This species is considered a keystone species because they balance out the population of sea urchins and help preserve the kelp forest. A few hundred years ago, sea otters were hunted for their sleek, beautiful fur, and also because these fishermen believed that the reason why they weren't catching enough fish was because the sea otters were eating them all. But after many years of fishermen hunting them, they began to notice a shift in the ocean's ecosystem. Once the sea otters started to disappear, the sea urchin population began to increase because sea otters are one of the very few animals that can eat them. Sea urchins feed off of kelp beds, so because of the increasing population of sea urchins, the population for kelp beds began to decrease. Because of the decrease in kelp beds, many species that live and breed in the kelp beds were also declining because there were no safe habitats for them to thrive and live. Thus, they were more vulnerable to predators. But in 1911, the International Forest Seal Treaty was passed to protect the sea otters from being hunted due to the collapsed ecosystems. But even today, there are still conflicts with humans, such as shootings and entrapment and fishing nets. Fishermen look at sea otters as competition when fishing for sea urchins, lobster, and crab, because this diet is similar to a sea otter's and are usually near fishing grounds. They would purposely toss fishing gear that entangles sea otters and cause them to drown. In 1911, there were a total of about 1,500 sea otters. In the 1980s, the population began to recover due to intensive management and regulatory efforts, which is great, but since then, the population declined over 50%. Although today there is an estimate of about 106,000 sea otters worldwide, this species is still considered endangered. There needs to be triple the amount of sea otters in order to maintain and balance the marine ecosystem, especially with the many threats against them.
Tiger sharks are apex predators in their aquatic ecosystems. This means tiger sharks are at the top of its food chains and no other animals will try to hunt them. They have the widest spectrum of diet than any other class of sharks. Tiger sharks prey on fish, seals, birds, squid, sea turtles, and dolphins. Also, they often are found with garbage inside their stomach. Tiger sharks feed on the sick, slow, injured, or unfit individuals. This ensures the strongest ecosystem possible. Tiger sharks play a major role in aquatic ecosystems through regulation. If tiger sharks did not exist, they will upset the balance. Population control from animals and plants in lower levels of the food chain will grow rapidly. With the removal of the tiger shark, it is possible for herbivores to overgraze the grasslands in shallow waters. Tiger sharks were listed as near threatened on the IUNC list in February of 2014. Between the years of 1970 and 2005, aquatic apex predators surrounding North America were reduced by 93%. This is due to longline fishing. In 1986, over 200,000 long lines were tossed into the Northwest Atlantic for swordfish and tuna. Tiger sharks and plenty apex predators were caught. In 2003, an analysis confirmed that 65% of tiger sharks in the area were either killed or abandoned their habitat. Fact is, we need all sharks and apex predators. Overfishing has left some shark zones completely stranded. The results are the collapse of aquatic ecosystems. In order to keep a healthy population of tiger sharks and apex predators, we must regulate and create a better system of longline fishing.
Here's the big picture. In all honesty, we don't even live in a city that is necessarily close to the beach. We generally don't think about the actions we take to keep the ocean healthy. These keystone species are only a few out of 1,000 species that keep the ocean's ecosystems thriving. They are all interlinked. We make choices without even realizing that it affects the ocean in negative ways. We are threatening these species. The ocean literally makes life on Earth possible. It influences our weather, fuels our economies, and connects distant lands. This vast, deep, powerful, and mysterious body of water is in trouble. Did you know there is a garbage patch twice the size of Texas that floats in the North Pacific? Gross. and detrimental to our ocean's beautiful species. This ocean is an important economic engine that supports us in employment and tens of millions of people that rely directly on the sea that supports their living. The ocean produces 50% of the planet's oxygen, and more than 1 billion people depend on seafood as their main protein source. And with the global demand doubling by 2050, we need to keep the ocean thriving with fish. This giant body of water supports the Earth's life system, and that is us. We don't see the ocean on a daily basis, but it keeps us alive on a daily basis. We wouldn't exist without it. But what are the issues? Overfishing. 30% of fisheries are overexploited and or depleted. Destruction of coastal habitats. They store 50% of our carbon, and yet 1/3 of coastal regions have been destroyed. Climate change. The ocean absorbs our heat and carbon, but with us producing more and more carbon every day, we are making it acidic, and 75% of coral reefs are dissolving and dying out. And then there's pollution. Remember that garbage patch doubled the size of Texas? We did that. So what can we do? Other than spreading awareness, remember your carbon footprint we had to dreadfully write about? Well, reduce that, and not only are we protecting the ocean, we are reducing our homework load. So green your commute. TriMet is awesome. Bus lines everywhere, max stations at your disposal. Take advantage of it. Ride a bike. It's also great exercise. Reduce energy consumption. Turn off your lights when you're not in the room. Shop smart. Shop organic. Eat sustainable seafood. Go meat-free once a week. Waste less food. Compost food scraps. There are so many things we can do, and it is super easy. Protecting our ocean is protecting our well-being.